The owner of a Carterton property at the centre of a school decontamination scare on Friday says the situation has been blown out of proportion and a gastro bug is more likely to have made pupils sick, not his compost. Emergency services responded to an outbreak of vomiting at Southend Primary School on Friday afternoon. Several pupils were taken to hospital and more than 20 were decontaminated at the school. Police today determined the illness was caused by a pile of compost at a property that shares its boundary with the school. Also, the source of the pungent odour detected at the time the children complained of being unwell. The compost belongs to Ilya McClellan, whose daughter attends Southend School. She was one of the pupils decontaminated. Mr McClellan rejects that the compost is to blame.
I had been told different things about where it was the children had sort of smelt it and, apparently been affected by it, by the smell. So I didn't actually, I sort of had a suspicion it was something to do with the compost on Friday, and I actually said to a friend of mine, I said, imagine if it was the compost that caused this big fuss. And then the police actually came and asked about it on Friday evening briefly, and then didn't hear anything else from them for a couple of days, and then they turned up this morning and asked sort of to have a look at it again, and I sort of dug a hole. It was still in a sort of mound at that time, so I sort of dug a hole in it and pulled some out, and they had a smell, and we were sort of, and it does smell sulphurous, so sort of very quite reminiscent of Rotorua if you've been there. I think personally, I think when it was dumped off the truck, it was a really hot day. It had just come from the place where they make the stuff.
And it was really hot itself, wasn't it? They were saying that it was fresh or actually very hot because it had been kept in a confined space for a long time. Yeah. I mean, they sort of they manufacture it up there and put it through a process, and then it had been taken out of there, put on the back of the truck, and then it was quite a warm day as well, so that sort of was a factor. And the wind was actually, a southerly, which would take the sort of aroma of it right onto the school. When it was dumped off the back of the trailer of the truck, that sort of moment of displacement would have made it blow. Particles would have been sort of transported by the wind and so on right into where some kids were playing, so they would have smelt it and been like, oh, I smelt this chemical smell. And then some other kids said, oh, well, I saw it playing, and, all these factors came together. And also there's been a lot of this gastro going around Carterton and Wairarapa recently. Just down the road at another primary, there were 40 kids affected by gastro, I think a week and a half or 2 weeks ago. So I think all of these things have come together and created this thing. Right, you think it could be a mix of both? But I guess you run a farm there, Ilya. I mean, how often does this happen? How often do you arrange someone to be dropping off fertiliser, and has it happened before?
No, we don't have a farm. It's just sort of a lifestyle block.
Right.
But we have we grow a lot of vegetables, and we have chickens, and we're sort of attempting to live off the land a bit more than we have in the past. We used to live in Melbourne, and now we've moved out here to Carterton, so it's quite a change. And we are trying to grow our own stuff, and the compost is something. We've had it delivered twice before in the past, and there's been nothing like this has happened.
Right. So, at what stage did you think, okay, I'm to blame here? Was it when you were going through the pile with the police on site, or was it a bit earlier than that?
Well, no, I never thought I was to blame. I thought that there was a hysteria that sort of came out of, a few kids panicking, some kids seeing a plane saying he saw some stuff falling out of it, some kids smelling a chemical sulphurous smell. I regret that, it had something to do with us putting compost in our garden, but I don't feel any guilt or blame or anything like that.
Right. I guess, though, in the future, you might just arrange things to be delivered a bit differently, though.
Well, I suppose. Maybe if it's going to cause any sort of fuss in the future. But, I do think it was just a funny little thing that I think in future, a kid should not be told to invent some story about seeing stuff falling out of a plane, and that would help, because that didn't happen. It was an aerobatic plane flying to the South Island, and there was no way he would be able to see anything falling out of it at the altitude it would have been at. So there was a significant amount of exaggeration that went on, and then asking children if they're sick is always an interesting thing, because a lot of children are sick now and then, and I just think this thing got sort of blown completely out of proportion. And honestly, the mushroom compost is completely safe. They've been manufacturing this stuff for years, and it's really popular around here. A lot of people use it on their gardens to grow food, so I don't think there's any danger from compost.
Yeah, so it sounds the way you're talking there, Ilya, that you think this thing was really the gastro bug and not the compost at all.
Well, that's what I think personally. Yeah, I think there might have been a couple of kids with gastro, a couple of kids who smelt the stuff, sort of got maybe the smell sort of did make them a little bit nauseous, but I don't think that it would make people physically sick. I mean, I was spreading the stuff out on my garden this morning, and I don't understand how anyone could get sick from this stuff. To be perfectly honest.
Ilya McClellan there, he maintains his compost was not the main cause of those kids getting sick, but may have contributed with the wind blowing the smell, that sulphur smell, across the boundary to the school there in Carterton.